Trevor had just boarded Flight 228 from Chicago to Atlanta when it happened. He wasn't loud, he didn't raise his voice. He simply stepped into first class, ticket in hand, navy suit pressed sharp at the seams, and paused for a second just long enough for the flight attendant to look up from her tablet, glance at his face, and say, like it was second nature, "Sir, coach is that way." Her voice wasn't cruel. It was worse, it was automatic. Polite on the surface, but dipped in something cold and old. Trevor didn't say a word at first. He just looked at her, long enough to make her blink, stammer, adjust her badge. He sprang. "I didn't see the boarding pass," she added quickly, trying to recover, but the paper was in his hand. Right there. 1A, first class, clearly visible. And still, she hadn't seen it. Or maybe, she hadn't expected to. "Now, I need you to pay attention, because what happened next, it wasn't supposed to reach anyone's ears. This footage wasn't part of the official airline review. It was never shown to the press. It came from a flight technician's personal backup drive. Found years later, after he went missing. You're not supposed to have it, but here you are. Watch closely. You'll see Trevor take his seat. You'll see other passengers board, eyes flicking toward him like he doesn't quite fit. Like something about him is off, though he hasn't said a word. But look closer. Look past the awkward smiles, the shifting glances. Do you feel it? That's strange. Sinking pressure, like the plane's already 30,000 feet up. Here's what they won't tell you. The flight attendant, her name was Lindsay Harmon, filed a report after that flight. A personal one, not logged in the company system. She claimed he whispered something to her. Just once, just 6 words. But no one else heard it. "I know what you buried here." She didn't finish the shift. Just vanished mid-flight. While the plane was cruising, not in the bathroom, not in the cockpit, not on any camera, just ... Gone. And Trevor. He stayed seated, calm, ordered black coffee, typed something into a small leather notebook. Now here's the thing that kept me up for days. That flight 228 never officially landed in Atlanta. The airport logs say it touched down. The manifest says all passengers disembarked, but 5 of them have no digital footprint after that day. No phone activity, no credit cards, no social media. Their families say they came home, but ask them where they've been since, and you'll hear the same blank pause. That's when I started digging, and that's when I found out who Trevor really was. Not just the CEO, not just the new owner of the airline. He's the man who rebuilt the company from scratch. Aft. The original founder, his father died in a crash that never had a cause. And the worst part, in the final second of that footage, just before it cuts out, you can hear a voice, not his, not hers, not the pilot's, a voice that sounds decades older, saying, ***, he came back. We weren't ready. ***, roll the tape. But don't say I didn't warn you." The voice didn't come through the cabin speakers. It didn't echo like an announcement, or carry, like a ghost story, told over static. It felt inside, threaded between brain tissue and memory. And yet, if you rewound the file, you'd hear it. Not just hear it, feel it. Gravel-soaked, mournful, a tone that had no business surviving. Through decades of silence, he came back. We weren't ready. But when we tried to isolate the audio, clean it up, strip it down, we lost something else. Trevor's image. Frame by frame, he began to vanish. Not in a cinematic way. There was no flicker, no Sajia Jasovi. One moment he was there, eyes sharp, jaw set like a blade. The next he was off-center, faded like an oil painting exposed to decades of sunlight, and then the seat was empty. Lindsay's disappearance. We could almost rationalize. A mid-air incident, however improbable. But how does a person unseat themselves from recorded history? How does digital memory lose faith in what it saw? That's when I got the message. A voice memo, buried inside a deleted folder on a shared drive from the aviation board. Date stamped 3 months before Flight 228. The voice was male, conflicted, clipped, like he kept glancing over his shoulder. He didn't introduce himself. He just said, "If anyone finds this, you need to understand. This isn't about racism. It's not about class. It's not about the damn airline. Something's been embedded in these routes. The airspace, maybe. Or the equipment. But I saw someone step out of time. I watched him watch me through the cockpit glass. But he was outside the plane, at 35,000 feet, and the tape cut off. You want to know the truth? I didn't believe it either. Not then, not until I talked to her. Genevieve Langston, ex-flight safety analyst, retired after a nervous breakdown, lives in a rusted trailer off a Nonay Road in Alabama. She didn't answer the door right out, what just called out through it. Greater than you saw. The tape, didn't you? Not a tape. The tape. I told her I didn't know what I saw, that I didn't even know if Trevor existed. She laughed, a dry mechanical sound that had more scar tissue than breath in it. Greater than he exists. But not like you think. He's not a CEO. Not really. That's the role. The shape. But what's inside that man doesn't die. Doesn't age. I saw him board Flight 96 in 1998. My first year with the airline. He looked exactly the same. Genevieve didn't want to say more at first, but I noticed the way her fingers shook when she reached for her tea, the way she stared past me, like I was already a ghost she hadn't forgiven. She handed me a folder, old, weather-stained, brittle, with water damage. Inside were printouts, flight logs, crew manifests, black box transcripts, names crossed out, in red ink, and one photo, grainy and faded, of a young man boarding a jet. Handsome, polished, too perfect. Trevor, only back then. The badge he wore said auditor. Genevieve said she started blacking out during her last year, 10-20 minutes at a time, but only in airports. Only when standing near gate monitors or digital displays. She said sometimes, just before she'd come to eat, she'd hear her own voice over the PA system, but it would be saying things she never remembered recording. Things like, greater than, return to your seat. This isn't the version that lands. I wish I could tell you she was crazy, that she'd gone too deep into conspiracy, that her mind cracked under pressure, but I checked the transcripts. And sure enough, on flight 228, a voice that sounds exactly like Genevieve's instructs passengers to return to their seats, except she hadn't worked for the airline in years. Trevor's voice never shows up in any official logs. He didn't file reports, didn't attend public meetings, no photo on the company's site, no press release on his appointment. Just a name, a title, and a memory that makes less sense the longer you hold it. The thing that scares me the most, I've started hearing him. Not in dreams, not in hallucinations, in reflections, bathroom mirrors, coffee shop windows, screens that go black after shutdown. He doesn't blink, just stares. Like he's watching me remember something I'm not supposed to. I checked my own travel history. I don't remember ever flying flight 228, but my phone did location data shows I was at gate C-17 at Midway Airport on the day it departed. For 6 hours, I asked my sister where I was that weekend. She said I was at her cabin in Wisconsin, playing cards with her kids. She sent me photos. They look real, but I'm not in a single one. And here's the part I haven't told anyone. Yet, 2 nights ago, I got a text from a number with no area code. Just the message, greater than you heard it too, we need to talk. Before they reset you, I don't know who they are. But last night, I woke up to my laptop screen flickering, opened it. All my notes were gone. All my backups, files, even this recording you're watching now, it had been renamed. Just one word. Rehearsal. Like all of this has happened before. Like I'm not the first one to find it, and maybe not the first one to forget. But here's what they don't want you to remember. Some planes never land. Not in the way you think. Some flights aren't about transportation. They're about containment. And some people, like Trevor, aren't here to travel. They're here to check the damage. So tell me something. When was the last time you flew and felt like the version of you that landed was the same one that took off? You still sure you're watching a story? Or did you just wake up inside it? The message was still sitting there. Unread, you heard it too. We need to talk. Before they reset you. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I laid down sure, but the room never got dark enough. The shadows kept shifting like they weren't synced to the walls. My bedside lamp flickered just once, one quick burst, and when I blinked, my phone screen was lit again. No alerts, no messages, just a recording, one I didn't make. Timestamped 3:13 a.m. It was of my voice. Breathing, just breathing. 11 minutes of it, steady, almost mechanical. Except at 10:58, I whispered something I don't remember saying. The audio's warped, like it was recorded too close to the mic. But I've replayed it 100 times. I said, he's already in the house. I live alone. The next morning, I called Genevieve. No answer, voicemail full. I drove 6 hours, down to her trailer, anyway. And when I got there, it was quiet. Too quiet. No wind, no dogs barking. Just her rusted storm door hanging wide open, screen flapping in slow motion like something had left in a hurry or was still inside. The air inside felt still heavy. Her tea mug was still full, still warm. TV paused on static, no sound, just fuzz. And on the table right where I'd left that folder was something else, an airline employee badge, Trevor's face. But the name said Malcolm Weiss. I blinked, looked again, same face, different name. No way to fake this. Was yellowed with age, barcode half scratched off. Dated 1997. In the corner of the trailer, half hidden under a collapsed bookshelf, was a cassette recorder, battery powered. I played the last tape. Her voice, shaky, tired, worn raw, greater than he has faces like masks. I think the masks are learning. I saw one smile yesterday. It was too long, too wide. I think it's using my voice again. I heard myself telling the passengers to close their eyes. I didn't say it. I wasn't there, but I heard me say it. Then something clicks. Not in the recording, inside me. I've heard that line before. Not just on the black box transcript. Not just in Genevieve's voice. I heard it once years ago, when I was 12, a memory I hadn't touched in decades, now rising through molasses in my brain. My mother, she was a flight attendant. Disappeared in 2001. Flight 708, bound for Minneapolis. Unsolved case. Plane landed. She wasn't on it. No record of her ever boarding. My dad said she missed the flight. The airline backed him up. Case closed. Except the day before the disappearance. I remember being sick, fevered, in bed. She leaned down and whispered to me, "Greater than if they ask about me, tell them I closed my eyes." A line I always thought was poetic. Or maybe a leftover dream. But now I'm not sure that was a dream at all. I took the badge, the tape, drove back home, hands shaking the whole time. Every billboard on the way back seemed wrong, somehow slightly off-brand, colors just a shade too saturated, as if reality was buffering. At a rest stop, I checked my reflection in the gas station mirror. Just for a second, and I saw it again. That man, Trevor Orr, Malcolm Orr, whatever he's calling himself in this iteration, standing behind me, not close, not smiling. Just there, a presence, watching. I spun around, nothing. I got home, locked every door, pulled every curtain, and started going through my files. I don't know why I hadn't checked the old box in the attic before. It was my mother's, untouched for years. At the bottom, under airline uniforms, manuals, and training certificates, was a notebook. Every page was blank, except one, written in red ink, jagged and broken like it had been scratched in a hurry. Was a sentence, asterisk, asterisk, they can only follow what you record. Asterisk, asterisk, I didn't understand it. Not until the power cut out. Not until I heard a low hum from the living room. Like a cassette unspooling in slow motion. The TV turned itself on. Static, then a clip, surveillance footage, terminal, gate, C-17. Me boarding, flight 228, walking calmly, smiling even. I don't remember this. I've never been on that plane, but in the footage, I'm holding a carry-on bag I still own, wearing a jacket I haven't seen since 2019, and the time's dump, it's tomorrow, 6:43 a.m. I rewound the footage, frame by frame. Tried to spot something that would explain it. Some edit, some trick. Instead, I found someone else. Genevieve. Seated by the window. She looks up, meets my eyes through the camera, and then her lips move. No sound, but I read it clear. Greater than don't board. It's not you anymore. I don't remember the next hour, just fragments, shattered pieces, a ringing in my ears, a knock at the door, an instinctive panic. Like the blood in my body forgot which way to flow. And then, the second character. His name was Connor Deeks. He said he worked for the FAA, showed me a badge, but wouldn't let me touch it. Said they were investigating a string of temporal inconsistencies tied to commercial flights. Said I'd been flagged. He smiled too easily. Said things that sounded rehearsed. Most people don't notice the edits. It's nothing to panic about. You just saw a version of yourself that didn't sync. Happens more than you think. Then he said something that cracked me. Your mother reached this point too. Right before she reset. I asked him what reset meant. He didn't answer. He just handed me a card. Plain white. One sentence printed in black ink. Asterisk, asterisk, do not recall more than they allow. Asterisk, asterisk, Connor told me I'd be contacted again in 7 days. That I'd feel better soon. Then he left, and now, I'm not sure if he ever really came, because the next day, there's no record of him. No badge, no footage, no car in my driveway. But the card was still in my hand, and the last thing I found broke me completely. I was checking my call logs, trying to backtrack anything, make sense of it all, and I found a voicemail from my mother. Timestamped this morning. Voice, same softness, same warmth, only one sentence. Greater than you never left the plane. There was no return number. Only static. And silence. And now, every time I blink, I swear I feel the cabin pressure change. The lights in my home flicker like fluorescent tubes on an old jetliner. The hum of the fridge sounds like an engine at cruising altitude. And sometimes, just in the corner of my eye, see rows of seats. Not here. Asterisk. They're asterisk. Still occupied. Still watching. So I have to ask you something. Not as a narrator, not as a storyteller, as someone whose reflection hasn't matched in 3 days. When was the last time you woke up and knew for certain the world around you hadn't been rewritten? They say there's no record of Flight 228 in public logs anymore, but if you look hard enough, you'll find your name on the manifest. I know you're still watching. You think, it's curiosity, but it's not. It's the pull, the slow, deliberate gravity of something older than systems, heavier than truth. I felt it too. When I first saw Trevor Malcolm, whatever name he wears now, look into the camera like he already knew what I'd become. The strangest thing isn't that he saw me. It's that he didn't look surprised, because I wasn't the first. And you're not the last. It started with the symbols. Tiny, almost meaningless at first. Scratched into the metal siding of terminals, etched behind mirrors in airport bathrooms, slipped into the logos of obscure regional carriers. A circle with a split center, sometimes a red line through it, sometimes an eye. Sometimes a void. You never really see them until you start remembering. Then they're everywhere. I found the first one inside an old magazine from a seat back pocket circa 2004. Folded, in the corner, right above an ad for anti-anxiety meds, greater than if you're reading this, asterisk, they didn't reset you right. Asterisk, it was handwritten, faint, smudged, like the ink fought back. I started scanning old flight footage, not just Flight 228, but other anomalies. Anything that glitched, people shifting in and out of frame. Passengers looking directly into security cameras with unnatural stillness. Audio that warbled just as the plane ascended past 10,000 feet, like the altitude messed with something. Beneath the broadcast. And then the dreams started. Not just mine. People began reaching out. Publicly, never publicly. Always anonymous. Always encrypted. Sometimes just a USB dropped in a P.O. box I never told anyone about. They'd say things like, greater than I dreamed I was landing, but my body stayed behind. I met my daughter in a dream. She died 10 years ago. She told me I never got off the plane. My husband woke up speaking a language he's never learned. We traced it, dead dialect, only used in black box logs. They weren't stories, they were memories. Or rehearsals of ones too dangerous to retain fully. Some wrote in spirals, as if looping their words would trick the algorithm watching them. Others sent footage badly degraded, distorted, but always the same eyes. Wide, searching, afraid. Then came the real fracture. A woman named Alana sent me a manila envelope with no return address. Inside, a 20-year-old mini-DV tape, labeled only, Gate D13 Incident 04. 12.03, I had to dig out an old camcorder just to play it. It shows a child, 7, maybe 8, standing in the terminal, staring directly into the security feed. She's alone, unmoving, for 13 minutes. Then a man appears behind her. Clean suit, smiling too smoothly. Trevor. Again, younger or older, hard to say. She turns to him, mouths something. We slowed it down, looped it, passed it through forensic linguistics. She says, greater than you came back too late. We already told them. Then the footage cuts to black. 2 seconds later, a different video plays clearly a home movie. An entirely different family. Christmas morning, 1995. Same tape. House spliced without a frame jump. Except in the corner of that happy holiday. Footage. Behind the frosted window, there's someone watching. Unmoving. You already know who. I tried to trace Alana. Every detail was scrubbed. Birth certificate, erased. Social records, fractured and looped. But one audio message came from her email before it was deleted. Just 5 words. Clipped and desperate. Greater than they're not just on planes. That's when the connections started clicking. Flight 228, Flight 708, Flight 741, all unlinked officially. But dig deep enough and you find overlap. Passengers with matching birthdays but different names. Pilots who reappear in later footage under new aliases. Children who aged backwards in airport security videos. It's not random. It's patterned. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The thing that turned the floor beneath me into water. There's a third perspective, not us, not them. Someone watching from the outside. They don't speak, don't write, but they leak things. Files marked FDR Echo _refractions. A folder titled Passengers Who Remember Too Much. Inside, just images. Faces caught mid-blink, mid-scream, mid-shift. And one document, top secret clearance. Leaked from a federal archive buried under layers of denial. Dated October 1993. Header, Project Recline. Greater than asterisk subject. Memory persistence in unlanded passengers. Asterisk. The memo ends with, greater than preliminary findings. Suggests for 2% of the control group retained dissonant recall. Post-deboarding, recommend termination protocols. If memory persists after cycle 3, escalate to reseating. You understand what this means, don't you? Some of us never got off. Some of us were made to forget. And some of us, like you were right all along. They watch the watchers. They loop the ones who remember. They rewrite history in flight and land only the compliant versions of us. And, the worst part, they use people like me. Recorders, historians, unreliable narrators whose trauma makes them easy to discredit. That way, when I tell you this, when I beg you to question everything, you're already doubting me. But you've seen the signs. You've felt the static in your spine when the cabin lights dim before takeoff. You've lost time in terminals. Heard your name whispered through airport intercoms in the wrong cities. This isn't fiction. It's what the government never released. It's the found footage from 20 years ago that keeps changing every time it's played. It's the version of you that smiles too long in old home videos. That's you, waking up every morning. A little off, a little misaligned. Because maybe, just maybe, you're not the version that was supposed to land. And somewhere, someone else is watching you now. Just like I'm watching you. Just like he watched me. They only let one version walk free. And the rest, they're still boarding. Still waiting, still rehearsing. So if you've seen the symbol, if the reflection doesn't blink back, if you heard your voice in a voicemail you never made, you're already in it. You were never meant to find this story, but now that you have, they're going to see how far you'll go before you forget who you were before the plane took off. Don't board, don't sleep, don't trust the version of you that answers the door. This recording may self-delete. But if you're still here, remember, look in the mirror and ask out loud, greater than did I really make it home? And then listen closely. Because the silence you hear isn't empty, it's the cabin. Still pressurized, still mid-air. Still waiting for the landing that never really comes.